My father wasn't really around when I was growing up, so therefore I didn't have a blueprint.
Throughout my whole school time, I never told anyone my dad wasn't around.
Because when you trap emotions, you're not getting rid of them. You're trapping them for a later date.
I heard something, your dad not being around was the best lesson you learned.
Yeah, my dad was an orthopedic surgeon, so he dealt with footballers. So his way of teaching me was not to be around.
I never understood that concept. I mean, I'm breathing right now.
But what type of breathing are you doing?
Just like,
plan your work and work your plan.
I am so scared, right, of being 30.
That moment, it doesn't last long. But if you find your why, it fulfills you more. We don't always have all the answers. We think we do, but we don't. What people don't tell you about growing up with a guardian is
Welcome back to the Inner Child podcast, episode 3. I have a great man here today, and he's a writer of the Reset book, and we're going to dive into his childhood and find out a lot more about you. First thing first, before we dive in, for those that don't know who you are, tell us about yourself and who you are, what you do.
Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate you taking time to host me as well. Normally I'm in that chair.
No, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
So I'm someone who's been dedicated to the sports scene, health and fitness for over 2 decades. It's a passion of mine. It's a way of life. It's a lifestyle. But there are a lot of things within that, as you know, that subcategorize what I do. From health and fitness to coaching, to football, to radio, to commentary, to being a one-on-one trainer and a well-being coach. And I try and spread my knowledge and my past experiences, good and bad, to try and help others.
Amazing. Before we talk about the book, off camera, you kind of told me like the book is based on like 20 years of mistakes, right? But one thing I wanted to start off the podcast with is, can you share a story from your childhood that kind of sparked your passion for health and fitness?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I'm just trying to figure it out. I think everyone in the beginning, they go through phases when you're starting in health and fitness, or you just want to look good aesthetically. That's your first thing is, I want to look better. Normally you hear the story, especially from a coach that would have started out somewhere, that he was overweight. So I fall into that category.
Was he?
Yeah. The afro, the glasses, the overweightness, the Steve Urkel phase, all that I went through.
Hey, I need a picture.
I tried to destroy those pictures. But yeah, I went through all those phases. And I think it's a good thing as well. It's tough love, but it's a way where you kind of have to learn the fast way.
Okay. And so what is it so right now you're still coaching, right?
Yeah.
So what is it that you coach?
I coach football. I coach health and fitness. I coach strength and conditioning. More sport-specific goals when it comes down to certain clients. My youngest client is 17. My oldest client is 73.
That's so great. What do you coach the 73-year-old in?
You know what? Movement. Movement is medicine, right? We go to the pharmacy to pick up medication, but in truth, movement is medicine. The basics sometimes are overlooked, and the cool, trendy stuff is then fast forwarded because people want to do that. But you can't out-train a bad diet, and you can't neglect the basics, especially the foundations of training.
You know, from your childhood, was there any kind of like experience that you went through that kind of shapes your coaching style today?
Yeah, I think a lot of the athletes that I work with, or the footballers that I'm currently working with now, normally phrase it as more like a father figure or a parent figure. But the fact is that my father wasn't really around when I was growing up. So therefore I didn't have a blueprint to how you should act and how you should look after people and when to put an arm around them, but when to be a bit more harder on them. And these things, especially during that kind of phase where mental health wasn't that big, you don't know what's happening. And then you kind of bottle it in and you don't say anything about it. And then you realize within time that adds up, more weight on your shoulders. So now I think character judgment's important. I think it's super key. I think knowing when to give the benefit of the doubt, when to put an arm around someone, and then also at the same time, when to be able to bring out the best in someone by pushing them that much further. And I think that is something that I didn't have, so I had to learn. And I think that last 20 years of coaching has kind of helped that.
But you see, like how you say, like your father wasn't around, so you didn't have that, so you had to learn. How do you know that it's something that's missing? Like, how do you know it's missing that? Because, you know, like I'm in a similar situation as you. Like, my father wasn't really around growing up, so I didn't know what I was missing. You know, I would just assume what I was missing based on, like, you know, like TV shows and movies, and like you see a lot of this stuff, like the father figure in the movies and stuff. Like, a lot of my friends as well didn't have their fathers around. In the last episode, I kind of mentioned, like, throughout my whole school time, I never told anyone my dad wasn't around. I used to pretend that, you know, my family were together, and I don't know if it showed or not, but I just remember, like, there was certain things where, like, I was softer in, you know what I mean? And how you're saying, like, you figured out, like, how at times you have to be hard because your father wasn't around. You have to be hard, and, like, it affects your coaching style. But for me, I didn't know what the difference was between hard and soft, because my mum was quite hard, but I just assumed that was, like, my mum. Like, I thought that's just how mothers was, you know? Because I used to see my friends' mums as well, and they used to be very, like, very hard. Like, come home at this time, and we used to get the beats and all of that stuff. So we couldn't tell the difference of, like, what we was missing from our dads. You know, I think now, and that's another worry of mine as well. Like thinking, like, when I am a dad, I don't know. Like, I get worried, like, what am I going to do? But my question is kind of like, how do you know what you was missing?
We're still trying to figure it out, because you like you said, you see TV, you see movies, you see your friends, you see their dads take them to go play football, for example, or come support them.
Who took you to football? Your mom?
No.
Took yourself?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But then that was all right, because my dad was an orthopedic surgeon, so he dealt with footballers. So his way of teaching me was not to be around, because he didn't want to encourage me to go under that path where your career could end in a second. And that is a different type of discipline, but that was the way it is. When friends started coming over and realizing, where's your dad? And then and like you said, like yourself, I wouldn't go around telling my dad's not home.
Yeah.
I would keep it down. But I also think that he was a genius. And with that type of character, you know, they are going to be amazing at certain things, and they're going to be all right in other things. And unfortunately, that was the all right part, which again was the best lesson. You know, when I was talking about mistakes and stuff.
I wanted to say that because I heard somewhere that you literally said, you know, your dad not being around was the best lesson you learned.
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of understand that. Like, why would that have been the best lesson you learned?
Because I had to grow up fast, and I had to realize quickly that no one is going to do anything for you or pick up your mess unless you do. It took a while. Don't get me wrong. I didn't figure it out at 16, 17. It took ages.
Really?
And until this day, you still kind of go back to certain things and say, could I have done better? Why did I do that? Why did I go through that? Why am I feeling a certain way? Because when you trap emotions initially, you're not getting rid of them. You're trapping them for a later date. And that is the thing that a lot of people realize about triggers. You might see something, feel a certain way about it, but it's actually a trapped emotion from a while back.
Yeah. I mean, like, and that's kind of what inspired this podcast as well. Because in my sessions with my therapist, like, I was trying to, before I like started the therapy sessions, I was having this situation where, like, I was behaving a certain way and I couldn't understand why. And it was affecting me, my relationships, and, like, how I maneuver day to day. Once I started the therapy session, we realized, like, there was a lot of childhood trauma that I never spoke about. I had no one to speak about it to anyway, but it was just something that I never mentioned. I never spoken to about my mom, to my siblings, to my friends, or nothing like that. And it really affected me to this day, but I didn't realize there was a connection to it. Trying to think of an example that I can share. But I guess one would be my relationship with my relationship with confrontation. Like, I hate confrontation, you know. But when I was younger, you know, I used to see things that that was so full on. The arguments would be so full on. When I was younger, I used to get into situations I shouldn't be in. It was so traumatizing looking back at it now because of how young I was, to the point where like now, because I had that for all of my childhood, now it takes me back to, because one incident I really remember was when I was really young, like 5-6 years old, and something really, like, it was such a huge traumatic event that happened. So now it's like my therapist is trying to say like that every time I'm having a confrontation with someone today, that feeling of helplessness, like I can't do nothing, I don't have a voice, translates to today, and which is one of the reasons why, like, for me, I'm like, I need to get myself out of the system. I don't want to deal with it. I need to just leave. So what you're saying is very interesting, like how a lot of our like childhood trauma stays untouched, and we never deal with it, and we just think because we're older now, it's put to bed, but really, like, it does really shape like who we are today.
Yeah.
And if we don't kind of tackle, I feel like if we don't look back at those times, we're not even going to understand who we are today. And it keeps on going. Like, I'm 28, and like, if I don't deal with it at some point, these issues are going to keep going, no matter if I'm 40, 50, 60, and it could affect maybe my children or my grandchildren at some times. So I think I find that such an interesting thing, is that a lot of people think that it's better just to hide it away and to lock it up. How do you deal with like any childhood trauma that you may have had? Do you deal with it today, or do you kind of just leave it?
Yeah, because see, again, what I love about the name of your podcast is is the inner child. A lot of people think you have to put that inner child to bed, right? But the truth of the matter of that is the inner child is never dead. The inner child is always alive. And the sooner you realize that you need that to keep being who you are now, regardless of what stage you are in your life, that for me is super key, because that will bring back a certain happiness as well. Yes, it might bring back the trauma, but it will also bring back a certain happiness that you can only get from your inner child.
Yeah.
And that is why when you told me about the name, I thought, I've spoken about that. I've done seminars before, and I've mentioned the exact terms inner child. And yet we associate it with past experiences that might cause trauma, might cause you to be upset. I'll give you an example. So let's say, for example, if I didn't have someone to go to and show, look, I got these grades. Look, I scored a goal. Look what I've done. Now, for the rest of my life, who am I going to go to?
Yeah.
Who am I going to show that? Who's going to fill that gap?
That's crazy.
So that's your inner child.
It's interesting as well how you say it, like, you know, you get a certain happiness. I think what happens is that we have no issues talking about the good times of our childhood. Like, you might, you know, see a TV show and you'd be like, oh my God, I remember watching this as a child.
Yeah.
Like, you're open about it. I think the dark side of it is what gets hidden away. And I think that's why I think people struggle. Like, they don't realize, like, you do talk about your inner child quite often, even if it is just the happy times. But because people are quite open about that good times, they have no restrictions with like sharing those moments.
Yeah.
That they just remember the dark times because it's what's locked out.
Yeah.
They haven't let it out. What's one? I would love to kind of know like one very happy moment from like your childhood that you remember.
My grandfather, God rest his soul, was a Nobel Prize winner, an Arab scholar.
Really?
Yeah. And what he would do, and it was quite intimidating when I would be in his presence, because all of my teachers from Iraq were taught by him when I was at school.
No way.
So they were like, are you an Al Duri? I said, yeah. And like, is your grandfather Abdulaziz Al Duri? And I'm like, yeah. And they'd come and shake my hand, but I wouldn't get it. I was like in year 3 or something. I didn't know why they were shaking my hand. But as I grew up and I realized he was an unbelievable person that a lot of people respected. So when he would say, what do you like doing? And I would think, should I tell him? And I'd say, playing football. He said, let's go to the park. And I'm like, is he testing me here? I'm a kid, but you got to realize I don't know what's going on. He'd want to see me happy. He'd want to see me flourish. So we'll grab a football, go to the park. And even if he don't play football, he's with me. And that is precious. Time is precious, right? So that memory, and he had baby blue eyes. So when he looked at you, you were like mesmerized by this man's eyes. And he had such an important role in people's lives, but he would put that on hold to make his grandson happy. So for me, that's a memory that I always take with me, because my moments with him were few and few, but he never, let me down.
Nice.
So that is a nice memory to look at.
How old was he when he passed away?
We're looking at probably 10, maybe in his 80s, I would say, late 80s.
How old was you?
Well, it's probably about 8-9 years ago now.
Oh, okay. So not even that long ago.
Yeah.
So with your grandfather being around and your dad not being around, do you feel like your grandfather maybe filled in on the role that your dad should have, or was he more just there as your happy place?
I wouldn't say he filled in the role, because he was in a different country, and I didn't see him as often. But when he did step in, it was amazing. Okay. So I don't think anyone filled that role. I had different type of people who were mentors in their own respect, but no one filled in that gap.
No one could.
Nah.
Not even, because you usually hear like when. So I'm assuming your parents didn't divorce. Your dad was just working. They were separated.
Yeah.
So usually when like parents are separated, like you always hear like how the mother was the father and the mum, right? Do you feel like your mum played that role then, or filled something in that regards, or do you think she just played the mum role as she should, and that father role was kind of just left?
No, my mum recreated her own role.
Oh, nice. How? In what
Because
sense?
she did everything.
Okay.
Can't say she was a father. Can't say she was just a mother. She did everything. Her back hurt from how she carried me.
Wow. Are you the only child?
Yes.
Wow. And that explains the bond between you and mom that I've seen.
Yeah.
I wanna dive in to the book Reset. Tell me about the book. What is the book about? And what inspired you to kind of write a book called Reset?
So I dedicated my educational life to sports, exercise science, and I had to do something educational because my dad was an orthopedic surgeon. So they didn't want me playing sports. So instead I studied. I went to uni, did my degree in sport and exercise science, education and employment, etc. But there's two sides to the book. There's one side, which is the theory side, which obviously is what you invest in terms of education. And there's the other side, which is life's lessons that you learn the hard way when you make mistakes. And when you try and learn about all these contrasting opinions in nutrition and fitness and what's going on and how it's going on and what's right and what's wrong and what's trending and what's not. And trying to figure out my own personal goal compared to what works for everyone else are two separate things as coaches.
Yeah.
People often associate what works for the coach works for everyone else, and that is a danger that the coach dives into when he realizes that our body types are different, our ways of thinking are different, our mental capacity is different, our history is different, our medical background is different, our genetics are different. Now, how do I simplify those words? And 20 years of work is through a conversation with the reader. Because I have a lot of fantastic books by incredible authors. Some of them I've met and I haven't finished their books. And it's no disrespect to them. It's the fact I didn't get a chance to get through that journey with them. Now here, as you can tell by the size of the book, it's even harder to simplify because I have to try and condense everything. And I put drawings in there. I put pictures in there. Why? Because again, you're trying to help that inner child get through the end of the book. You're trying to help that person rediscover what works for them because it's not one size fits all. Why reset? Because people are scared of change. When you say change, people go, oh, I don't know if that's me. Well, listen, I went through this. It's different. So, okay, you will have 5 things to look at and you will have at least 3 of them that are very good. Now, 2 of them, or maybe even 1 of them might not be that good. And that's that red domino at the front. That trigger is the one that might change your life when you actually read it and you think, you know what, that mental health, mental fitness chapter you have changed my perspective and made me realize I'm not that far off. Whilst normally with health and fitness, people are like, I've got so much to do. So that one domino could change everything when you realize, hold on a second, I know about these things, I don't necessarily implement them. And the brain coach himself, Jim Quick, said to me, we all know what to do, but we don't always do what we know. And that light bulb in my head went, yeah, because I'm the same.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah. So I'm like, I know these things, but I don't always practice them. So that's what reset is.
So this is one of Amazon's best-selling book.
Yeah.
Right, just wanted to let the people know that.
Thank you.
For those that haven't read it yet, and what would you say the 5 dominoes are? And briefly, just tell me what the 5 dominoes are, and which domino helped you reset your life.
Good question. So the 5 dominoes are how you fuel your body, so nutrition. How you train your body physically, so that's gym, different types of activities. How you train and fuel your mind, which is probably the one domino that a lot of people dive into and enjoy the most.
Okay.
The 4th domino is environment, how you reset your environment. Because a lot of times people think they have to get away for change. But in truth, you are responsible for the small things that can help you be in a better place. And the last one is recovery, which is something that a lot of people neglect because it's sometimes so simple and straightforward that we think we can surpass that. And those that are really interested in well-being skip that one. So those are the 5 dominoes.
Can we dive into the 4th one, which is environment?
Okay.
That's interesting to me because one of the reasons why I moved to Dubai was to change my environment. I wasn't. There's certain things I don't want to say, but I wasn't in the right place when I was in the UK, and it was affecting a lot of things. Affecting my mental state, affecting my relationships, affecting my anxiety, my PTSD, and like a lot of things were affecting. And obviously COVID happened. And I think that amplified a lot of the feelings that I had. And I think for me, it was like, okay, like I need to change my environment. Not just the people that I'm around, but everything that is associated to any negative memory that I have. I want to just start fresh and reset in a way. And Dubai was the place that I moved to 2 years ago. But it would be interesting to find out like your perspective on environment and because you're saying like it doesn't have to be where like you need to change the whole environment. It could be something that we do within ourselves, right? So what would you say will be it like from what's in the book, and how can we tackle the environment domino?
So a lot of the times we kind of neglect the fundamentals, and when we go into school, right, they teach us numbers and alphabet. Right? That's the first thing they do. But when you actually come onto this earth, what's the first thing you do?
Drink.
Breathe.
Oh, breathe, yeah.
Okay.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah. But it's not wrong. But breathe, right? Does anyone teach you how to breathe?
No.
So that's the first thing you do. So breath work is super important. And you're in charge of that. Not your environment, not everything else. The way you receive and the way you digest what's happening is breath work.
But like, I never understood that concept.
Okay.
Because I'm like, I am breathing. I'm breathing right now.
But what type of breathing are you doing?
Just like, or like, just in and out, inhaling. Okay. But why does a specific breath work work? Like, what does it do? Okay. So when your brain, when it digests information or when it receives what's happening around it, it normally is divided by fight or flight, parasympathetic versus sympathetic. The idea of that is when something happened now, if a lion came smashing through that door now, you and I would both react to that lion. We need to get out of here. We need to either fight it or flight, right? Yeah. So that's the first thing. How we breathe and how we manage our breathing based on that lion coming in this room now is how we're going to handle the next 10 to 15 seconds. If our heart rate shoots up to the surface and we're both panicking, something might happen that we have no control over. Okay. Breath work is controlling our nervous system, controlling our emotions, controlling our hormones. It's not the only thing in the reset environment thing, but that's one of the basic things. Now, you said it a second ago, I'm breathing now. But I did a campaign 2 days ago
for Palestinian Children's Relief Fund, and it was free, and we brought people down. The first thing we started off with was 30 minutes of breath work.
30 minutes?
30 minutes of breath work. I'm telling you now, there were people crying.
Really?
Yes. And there were people still, and there was no distraction. And there was no
Can we try
phone.
one?
We could, yeah.
Not 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But if you got like a 1 minute one now.
Well,
Or like
when you do it, firstly, lights are out.
Okay.
Sound is out. There's a guided breathwork meditation audio. The specialist that I had on, he actually is coming on my show tomorrow, Benoit. He is someone that I've invested a lot of time in understanding these things. And I knew what was going to happen in that room because I've worked with him before. And I swear, because people have all this anxiety, what I'll do is I will introduce you to him later.
Okay.
And I will get you to go to one of his things. I swear to you, it's a game changer, honestly. And I'm not a specialist in it, but I genuinely believe in it. And I spoke about it in Reset before I knew Benoit. And Wim Hof, have you heard of Wim Hof? So Wim Hof is a specialist of cold plunges, ice baths, breath work. He's unbelievable. And he talks about it. And he's done studies, gone to universities, changed. He's injected his body with bad bacteria and healed himself through breath work.
Really?
And what's happened with this campaign we did the other day is we had 39 people in that room, and they were all lying on their back, and they were listening to the meditation and the guided breath work. And the difference between the start of that session and end of session is they were holding their breath up to 2 minutes.
Really?
I swear. And they didn't even know it. Honestly, facts. No lie. Okay.
And it brings out like emotions from it.
Oh, it is like, I can't begin to explain to you.
I think I have to go through it, right?
Oh, you have to go through it. And trust me, you will come out of that and you'll be like, that was heavy. And that's what, even my training partner, she trains with me every Saturday, Amal, she was with me. And she had no idea, because I've never taken her with me to breath work. So she was like, what is this? I said, just relax. She did it. And then after it was done, she looked at me, she goes, that was heavy.
Yeah,
and I said, yes. So that's one of the things that we talk about.
Okay, so let's just say for someone that's reading a book, and they decide I'm going to give a breath work a chance, and I just want something small that I can just do now.
Yeah.
What's one thing that they can just get started with in terms of breath work?
So if they YouTube breath work, Wim Hof,
okay,
and basics, nothing too crazy, and they listen to the audio, and they
just follow it through.
And they follow it through. You could be lying on your back, you could be sitting down, but you don't want anything in the background that's going to distract you. And a lot of the times, especially with some of the workshops I've been involved in, is bringing yourself back to the center, because your mind starts to think of, okay, I got to do this later, I got to do that later. And you start to think about all these things. It's one of the most challenging things, because we are programmed to live a certain way. I told you earlier, when I was saying about all the jobs that I do and everything, working 4 jobs is not easy. So I'm always thinking, I need to plan that, I need to organize this, make sure this is on time. When I was doing that, I did not think of anything else, but it's taken a lot of practice to do that.
I can imagine.
And I don't do it enough. I should do it more.
Okay.
Because you feel so much better afterwards.
And okay, fine. So breath work. What else can we do to help our environment?
So how you leave your room is how you come back to it.
What do you mean?
So let's go again, basics. We're going, there's a lot more in depth, but let's go basics. Let's say you wake up in the morning, you need to go to work, your bed's scruffy, you go to work, you come back, your bed's still scruffy. You're coming back to scruffiness. You're not going to come back going, I can't wait to get in those sheets.
Yeah.
It's the smallest things like that, how the room smells, how the room is laid out. Again, we're stripping it down to basics. Yeah. But you would be surprised by, if you've done your bed, for example, tidied up a little bit, gone, come back, you look at that bed, it's a different way.
So when you're talking about environment, you're not really talking about just people and where you're from or your house, something like that. You're talking about literally a 2 meter radius, like everything around us.
Yes. Yes, because your people aren't always around you.
Yeah,
your
yeah.
workspace isn't always around you. There's always things that are out of your control. You can control who you go see.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want to come out? No, that's easy. But you can also control what mood you're in. The 3-2-1 method, no food 3 hours, no TV, no social media. 3 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour, for example. Blue light, what your eyes are exposed to. Because then they need to sleep. So have you heard of the blue light glasses?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just little things like that 2 hours before, if you have to stare at a screen, that starts to kind of wield you down a bit. Yes. That's what you're in control of.
That's crazy. I never thought about it like that. I think too extreme. Like I go to the extreme. I'm like, damn. Like I need to get rid of these people. I need to meet new people, make new friends, and so on. But it's very interesting. I think, and I did notice that about when you make a bed in the morning, you feel, even just making a bed in the morning, you feel a bit like this is nice,
Yeah.
And then when you come back, like sometimes when I come back, I just want to slump on, and it's a lot nicer when it's done up.
Yeah. And you're starting the next day then.
Oh, okay.
Because when you put your head down on those sheets and you close your eyes, you're resetting for next day. You're getting yourself ready for the next day.
Yeah.
The day doesn't start when you wake up. The day starts from how you put your head down before you wake up.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I guess, it's interesting because there's so much to self-development. There's so much to making our lives better that we don't, like, I feel like, what I feel like happens is that a lot of us would see stuff on like TikTok or on social media and start to implement these things, but with no organization.
Yeah.
So it's like one day I'll just see someone that says wake up at 6 a.m. and start working out. But there's no structure to that. Like, why am I waking up at 6 a.m.? What am I doing after that? Am I going back to sleep? Am I eating, or am I eating before? Like, there's no structure. It's just like whatever social media say, like everyone suddenly become like a self-development coach. So I find it so difficult to kind of find something that really sticks. And I have a really hard time. Like, I'm sure our lives are kind of similar in terms of our schedule. Like, my schedule's all over the place. When you work for yourself, like, you don't have a 9 to 5, you have like a 9 to 9 almost. So it's not really that easy to just be like, okay, 1 o'clock I'm going to eat lunch and 5 p.m. is going to be dinner time. Like, it's whenever I get a chance, it will happen. Like after this, I'm going to go over to a shoot. And typically, like, I'm going to be basically missing lunch. So it's like, it's so hard to find the right people, the right information to follow. And I think what a lot of us do is kind of just follow whatever we just see on TikTok and maybe damaging ourselves even more. So is there like any coaches that you suggest that we could, just get started with?
So you said something. You said you're quite extreme. There's a good side to that as well. Because if you're quite extreme, you can use that level of extremeness to plan what you want to try to do.
But it's bad because imagine this, yeah? Let me walk you through it, yeah?
Okay, go on.
This is how extreme I am.
Okay.
My thing is that I'm going to start on Monday.
Right.
The worst thing everyone can say, start on Monday.
Sunday night.
But this is what I'm saying. Like, I'll be like, look, Monday I'm starting, so I need to get the schedule ready. I need to write it down. I need to put it in my calendar.
Sunday night?
Why?
Because after this conversation, we said that your Monday starts on Sunday night.
Okay, which makes sense.
Right.
Which makes sense. Like, prepare yourself the night before
For the week.
But that's the thing. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, it has to be structured.
So I didn't bring it today, but I have this old school planner, right? And people laugh at me all the time. I have an old school planner and I have colors that resemble certain things.
I was going to ask you about that.
Okay. Color psychology is massive. Again, that's in there. But what I'm saying is, with you, let's zone into you, right?
Okay, cool.
You've got the whole week. You've got shoots planned in. Those shoots have timings, right?
Yeah.
So you know that when it comes down to shoots, you can associate that and affiliate that with a color. So if you have an old school planner, let's say blue, okay, are your shoots. Let's say green are your podcast. Let's say pink is your downtime.
Okay.
In the diary, you block out all these things in colors. Now your eyes are seeing certain things regarding how your week's looking. If you plan out your 24 hours a day and you've put the blue, the green, and the pink, what's left in there? That's your time to do what you need to do, whether it's getting from one shoot to a podcast, whether it's going to a different location, whether it's to eat. But if you don't, I heard this like years ago, plan your work and work your plan.
Wow. Okay, that's really good.
Okay, so now
But
it's
why
one thing to
colours?
have a plan. It's one thing to have a plan. It's another thing to execute it. So if you attempt, that's why I said attempt. I didn't say it's going to work straight away. If you attempt your week from the Sunday where you've sat down, your shoot's already booked in. People can't wait to work with you. So you've already got that in. Now the other stuff. When do I have self-care time? Now that's going to have a color. The reason why I say colors, because when you visually see something, when your eyes visually see something, they are drawn to it. And then your body and your mind responds to that. So for example, with me, I always have it with me, especially when I know what I'm doing across the week, because I have to see it. I'm a visual person. When I see the certain colors, pink for me in my diary is me time. It's self-care time. It's training, sports massage, for example, ice baths, recovery. Okay. Even, you laugh at this, barber. Because when you go to the barber, that's their downtime.
Yeah.
So that's all pink. I have to have at least one of those a day. At least one of those a day.
Okay.
So for me, now I know, okay, I can chill here.
How long is that pink period?
It could be 30 minutes, could be an hour and a half.
Wherever you want it to be.
Wherever you want it to be. But you have to have that in there. Because for your own mental fitness, not mental health, mental fitness, because it requires practice, you need that. You need it. Now, blue for me is radio, Pulse 95 radio, Sharjah, that's blue. 3 times a week, that's in.
Okay.
Commentary, UAE, that's purple. It's once a week, if even. I have to go to a stadium, I have to commentate on the game, etc. Fine. Okay. Green is clients. Because for me, that's a different source of income.
Yeah.
So green is clients. Now, when I see all these colors on the thing, sometimes I just need some plain space.
Are you the type to do it in a physical book, or you?
Yes. Yes, I do it in a physical book. Actually, it's inspired by the phone calendar.
Okay.
It's exactly like that. If you prefer digital, that's fine. But for me, I genuinely like to write it down and color it in. It's something that I've done over the last 5 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
Physically, I don't know why. I just prefer it.
Maybe I need to try that. Maybe
Honestly.
that makes the biggest difference.
Yeah.
How I schedule my time.
Yes.
Because I find myself kind of just like going off course. Like I said, on a Monday, I'm like, okay, I'm going to start on Monday. 9 a.m. I'm going to do this. 10 a.m. I'm going to do this. 11, etc., etc. It's all structured. I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Monday comes, I messed up the 10 a.m. one. After that, everything's a mess.
Yeah,
it's like a domino.
So if you do it now, you have a 10-year head start on me, because I wasn't doing it then. So imagine how good you'll be at it.
That's another concept that I've been kind of toying with at the moment is age.
Okay.
And what you just said just reminded me, like, I am so scared, right, of being 30.
Okay. Why?
I just feel like I'm at the end of my battery. Like, I feel like I've run out of time. I feel like 30 is like, because think about it, when I was like, I don't know, 9, 10, 11, even up to 15, and I saw my 28-year-old uncles, I'm like, damn, you guys are old.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The way I saw them, I don't feel like I'm that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I still feel like I'm the 15-year-old that I was like yesterday.
Yeah.
So, but putting it in perspective, I'm like, damn, as they were old, I'm there. I'm like, and all the pressures of social media now and stuff, like you feel like if you made it by 30, you're certain, you failed, etc. So like that's where the fear stemmed from, of like the age 30. Like it's just, damn, I'm getting old. Like I'm not considered a young adult anymore. That's what I thought. Everyone's telling me, you're still a young adult until 40.
Yeah.
But, like I was just like, 30, I'm finished.
Yeah.
And, since moving to Dubai, I've met so many like successful people, like doing amazing things. And when I hear their story and how they started and when they started, a lot of them started in the mid-30s and they found success after their mid-30s. And I was just thinking to myself, like, wow, like all this time I'm thinking I've got 2 years, otherwise I don't know what I'm going to be. Because in my head, I'm like, how can I be a videographer at the age of 30? Like imagine a 30-year-old coming up with a camera. Like in my perspective, I was like, damn, like I can't be doing that unless I'm moving up. Like I can't be doing social media anymore. I need to start moving into like movies or...
Why?
'Cause that's just how I saw it. That was my perspective before I moved here.
Yeah.
Now that I moved here and I'm meeting all these people, I'm like, wow, like we can like age doesn't have a timestamp in the sense of like success.
Yeah.
Everyone that I met that are super successful, mid-30s, like a lot of them found their success in mid-30s. Yeah, they may have started when I was 25, 26, 27, but the success came 10 years, 15 years later. So now I'm just like at peace a little bit, like, okay, good. Like 30s coming.
Yeah.
It's fine. A lot of people also say like life begins at 30. Like the guest we had in the second episode, she was saying her 20s were just spent defying who she was and enjoying life to a certain extent. And the 30s was her accepting who she is and able to live life as her whole self, which is also such an interesting aspect.
I don't think you find success. I think you find your why. I think you find why you do something and what makes you happy and why it makes you happy and what you want to do as a passion that's going to help tick off your boxes. I don't think, because let me give you this, for example. I was fortunate enough to go with Ghana to the World Cup under 20s. I thought that was success. It was a great milestone, don't get me wrong. Being at a World Cup as a coach is fantastic. But saying that, it's if you chase success and you try and get there and everything, you're going to come crashing down when you realize that moment, it doesn't last long. But if you find your why and why you do stuff, it fulfills you more and it nourishes your soul more. And that, I think, is super key.
So let me ask, when did you find your why?
I think it was probably over the last 6 years now.
Okay, so about mid-30s,
you
early
could say
30s.
that, yeah. And now people that's late. Some people might say that's late, but I was chasing things.
Can I ask what your why is? Or is that a personal thing?
No. It's to help elevate people in different frames through different experiences in which I can help them reach their goal, be it football, be it fitness, be it mental. That for me nourished me more than I could imagine, because I almost got addicted to that. And then I realized that it made me happy when someone would say, wow, coach, man, you've changed my mindset or wherever it is. But I didn't know what that was before. And that for me was worrying because I'm like, I'm still doing this now. People now need assurances and validation and acknowledgement, whether it's a love language or whether it's something that you have to do. But the problem with that is I've sat down with friends and I'm still PTing. So I still personal train. And they are asking me, what do you think I should get in a personal trainer? Who do you think I should go see? They're asking me. So I'm not going to say me.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know by now, and I haven't talked about it, I haven't advertised it. So I'm going to be like, you know what? You need to look at these attributes and see if they can help you with that. And then the next question I'll ask is, do you recommend anyone? Now, if it was all about money for me, I'd say me.
Yeah.
Because I've had 20 years experience. But I'll go, okay, maybe because aesthetically, I'm not as pleasing as your six-pack model on Insta or TikTok.
Like me.
So, so I'll be like, you know what? Go see that person. That person's for you. Why? Because that fulfills what they want rather than what I want.
Okay, so let me take this back to when you was, let's say, 8 years old. And what you visioned your life to be at 8. Let's not even say 8. Let's just say you're a bit more mature. Let's just say 16 years old. And at 16, you obviously have the dreams and the goals that you want to be.
Yeah.
How does that, how similar were those goals and vision to what you achieve now? And are those goals and visions the same? And does that fulfill what you see?
As a 16-year-old, I wanted to be a footballer.
Okay.
As a 17-year-old, I came to the realization I'm not going to be a footballer. I tore my calf muscle and I realized my football dream is over.
Okay. That was quick.
Very quick.
Yeah.
And in London, if you don't make it by 9, it's a hard industry to break into in football.
Yeah.
So I knew that. So I went into coaching.
So you went to coaching after 17, like at 17, 18?
I did my first coaching badge at 18, yeah.
So do you say your goal kind of stayed the same since you was
It's
18?
in the same field, but an 18-year-old is not going to give up on their football dream.
Yeah.
And I did. I went straight. You know what? Despite the hype and all that came with it at the time, no, I'm not going to make it. So I'm going to stay in the industry. I need to stay sane. I thought my world was over, like, because all I want to do is play football.
Yeah.
But I stayed in the sport that I love, because obviously my dad never watched me play. So because he never watched me play, there wasn't that support system.
Okay.
So for me, it was like, okay, I need to, and I got injured. So he was right. That's it. It's a fact, right? So then I thought, you know what? Can I still be in the sport? Can I still make an impact? Can I still be someone of influence? Because I was captain of all my teams, school teams, everything. And even later on in college, but I knew I wasn't going to go pro, but I was still captain in college. So I didn't know why I was, because I wasn't the most technically skillful player, but I was the example for a lot of the other teammates.
So if we take that aspect that you was a captain most of the time, right?
Yeah.
Or if not all the time.
Yeah.
How does that translate to your adult life? Like, why? Like, did that specific role, being a captain of a football team, affect how you are as an adult today?
Yeah, because my coaches saw something in me that I didn't: self-belief, self-care. I always set the bar high through hard work and not through talent. And that's why they always say hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. They always say that.
I like that. What's that again?
Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So for me, I didn't know I was that example. I always thought he's more skillful. He's better at this skill. I was a centre back that turned into a midfielder. Again, they kept playing me. They took risks on me. They played me in all the age groups when I was 2 years younger than everyone else. They had all that belief in me, and I didn't understand it. Later on, I understand now how to coach, when to coach, because if that person I see has an attribute that I had at school or something like that, I will make that flourish, because I know what it takes. But when I see someone that's naturally gifted and is not doing anything about it, that's a waste for me. And then I would trigger that person even more. So I'll push that person to work hard so then they become the best, not so I can bring them down.
That's how you met your wife, right?
My wife, I met her through the football community.
But you had that moment where you kind of told her...
Yeah, she was playing in a tournament, and I walked past and I said something about what she was doing wrong, and then I walked off, and that's before we even knew each other. And then she was like, "That's weird."
When I heard that story, I thought that's crazy. You know, like the fact, and what you're saying now is crazy, because it's like, this is what your foundation is. Like, this is who you are.
That's my wife.
You know, and which is amazing. But it also resulted in having a wife.
Yeah.
You know, which is crazy. There's a game that I like to play on the show.
Go on.
It's called Child's Play.
Okay.
So Child's Play is a simple game.
Right.
I tell you a word. You tell me the first thing that pops into you about that word.
Okay.
Pops into you. I'm so tired. I'm just saying.
That's all right. That's all right.
But I say a word.
Yeah.
You tell me what's the first thing that pops into your mind.
Okay.
Associated to that word.
Right.
And then I have a follow-up question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go on.
So the first word is reset.
Lifestyle.
Nice. Okay. So how does that concept of resetting, like lifestyle, relate to rediscovering and reconnecting with one's inner child?
Because it requires practice. It's not a one-stop shop. I've had some really, really nice messages from people I don't really know online regarding reset, and they say that they always go back to certain chapters that just helps them get through the present time that they're going through. And because it's a practice, it requires you sometimes to go back and just have a look. There's a gratitude journal in there, and after every chapter, there's takeaways that you write down where you're at. So when you write that down, you go back and think, you know what, I'm better now than I was then. So then you rub that out, write the next part, and leave it open. And so it requires practice. It's one of those things that you just kind of relate to, you know?
I like that. So it's kind of like you're progressing, and you could just check back where
it's like a journal.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. The long game.
Oh, I was in a movie. Is that why you said it? Yeah, I was in a movie. A friend of mine's a director, and he asked me to play a role, and I thought he was joking, but he's a serious director. He's very, very like.
I really
popular.
tried hard to find that film.
Yeah.
I really wanted to watch it.
Yeah.
If you have a copy, please send it over.
Yeah, actually, it was in the festivals, the movie festival. So he didn't release it
Okay.
because he did really well. He won awards for it as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's brilliant. But yeah, he told me he wanted me to be in it, and I thought I was like an extra in the background.
Yeah, not being
Turned
one
out
of
to be the main role. Yeah.
I need to see this film. But my follow-up question is, when you made that movie,
Yeah.
what was your long-term goal?
You know what? It was helping out a friend, if I'm being very honest. Because a lot of people say, oh, would you be in more stuff? Not really.
So you wouldn't have, like, it didn't spark an interest or a passion, like, oh, maybe this could be a route for me.
If I'm being honest, no.
Okay.
That's me being 100.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
But if you do have a copy of that film, please.
Okay. Yeah.
Your favorite childhood game?
Uno.
Loved
it.
Really?
Yeah. I still love it. I love playing it now.
I've never played Uno.
If it was a computer game, I'd say Mario Kart.
Okay.
Or obviously Pro Evolution at the time.
Oh, back in the... Yeah. I'll play Pro.
Now it's FIFA, but yeah.
How do you think your favorite childhood game, so let's just say Uno, shaped the way you approach fitness and coaching?
Strategy. It's all strategy.
Explain a little bit.
Planning, when to switch, when to +2, when to +4, what to end on, when to say Uno, when to draw, when to drop. It is one of those things, I swear. It's just brilliant.
Has it helped you in anything else other than fitness?
Annoying my wife. Because I always win. She fights me for that, yeah.
Did she play that back in the days, or is it something you introduced to her to?
I'm sure she did back in the day, but obviously we only knew each other recently, but yeah.
Okay, fine. Your childhood dream?
Be a footballer.
Okay, of course. Looking back though, how does that vision compare to where you are now? And what advice would you give to children today pursuing that dream?
Work hard, put it in your own hands, be accountable, be responsible, dream big, follow your passion, and don't let anyone dim your light.
And to the first part of the question, how does that vision compare to where you are now?
It's what I practice now, but it's also what I help others realize, even if it's just my footballers in the team, how you speak to them off the pitch, how you help them stay on track, how you don't knock their confidence. There's enough going around to knock people's confidence and their mindset. Let them make their own mistakes, but be there for them when they do.
Okay. I mean, it's do you find being a coach like affect your relationships in work and in personal life? Like when you're speaking to your wife or your mom or your students and stuff, do you feel like the coaching never leaves, or do you feel like you can switch it between Omar and Coach Omar?
We spoke about this the other day. I really do have different hats on, and I really do try and differentiate between all of them. Now, there's some characteristics that obviously you can't just ignore or switch off, but they also know what you're about. So my wife jokes about it sometimes. She goes, that's why I married him. But at the same time, I stopped coaching women's football because she's in it.
Okay.
So because of conflict of interest, I was coaching women's football before. I was with the UAE women's national team, etc. But once she's in it, that's her time now. That's her light.
Okay.
So when I was doing my license, I moved into the men's game. And now she's obviously asked me, did you watch my game? What could I have done better? How could I have done? And I'm okay with that because she's asking me.
Yeah.
But will I give that advice just randomly? No. Unless it's for the better for her. I take that husband role very different to the coaching role, to the personal trainer role, to all these different roles, because you have to. You have to be able to adapt to different situations. You can't be the same character everywhere. Even as a radio host. Yesterday in the initiative I was doing for the campaign, one of my closest friends said, what's he like as a coach? He asked two of my footballers, and they were like, you should have seen him last Monday. And she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, oh, he can be tough, He's very chilled and very calm. Or if I'm boxing, for example, people have said, that is a different side of you, man. I said, well, that's why I leave it. I leave it there. I park it there, and then I go into a different gear because you have to.
Okay, and do you find it easy to switch gears, or do you kind of sometimes catch yourself like, oh, I'm in coach mode, I need to?
I think you're on autopilot, bro. When you practice it and you stop thinking about it. I'm with you now. We're chilling. We're talking. I'm not gonna obviously flick this thing, you know. But then yesterday night, when I'm in coach's mode, people will see me for my true colors as a football coach.
I would love to come and see you.
Come down next Monday.
Yeah, I would love. I think
we play every Monday. Yeah.
Okay. Next one. Favorite cousin.
Yassine. Easy.
Yeah. What qualities did your favorite cousin have that you admired as a child, and do you see any of those qualities in yourself as an adult?
Telepathy is one. He just reads. He finishes off my sentences.
Really?
We are two kids now. When we're on the phone, we are two kids.
Is he back?
That's a different side. That's another different side. My wife, when she met him, she saw a different side to me. That's
Really?
my wife. Yeah. He's in Saudi at the moment.
Oh, he's in Saudi.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's not too far.
Nah.
But so what? So do you see that quality in you now with anyone else?
Hardly.
So it's just
It's
saved for
It's like
him.
a battery, plus and a minus. I might be at a plus one day. I might be at a minus. He's the other one.
Okay, that's crazy. That's okay. So that's child's play, which is interesting. I wanted to just quickly talk about your wife before we move on.
Yeah.
She's a footballer.
Yes.
She played professional in America. Am I right?
D1. They call it D1 soccer out there. Yeah.
Which is the highest level, right?
Yeah.
And so she has to be away for some times at
Yes.
times, right?
She's away.
She's away right now?
Yeah.
So how does that affect you as a person? Because the reason why I asked this is because, you know, how you said your dad used to be away for work a lot. And kind of the same now with your wife, she's away for work a lot. So do you feel yourself having that same feeling as a child when your dad went away to work to now your wife going away for work?
No, because I'm in charge now.
In what sense?
I'm in control of how I feel.
Okay.
As a child, you're not. You're looking at others to help you figure it out. As an adult, this feels familiar now. I'm the husband. I understand emotions. I understand emotional intelligence. I will support my wife. I will help her fulfill her dreams. And then when she comes back, then I can be selfish again.
It's interesting. Like the fact that and did you deal with this after you got married, or was this already installed in you when you got married?
No, I think you figure it out. I think she's moved to Saudi now to play pro. So she's away for 10 months. She's been away for 3 already. It's her birthday this week.
Wow.
We'll fly her in for this week. And she goes back to playing pro. And I have to support her. I have to make sure I'm there for her when she needs me. And then I can be selfish later on.
But I worry about like that feeling itself, because a lot of us do try and do the most for people we love, right? But sometimes we don't take care of ourselves in a sense of
Correct.
I'm supporting, in your situation, for example, I'm supporting her, and this is her dream, and she's doing really well, and I'm always going to be here for her. But what about those times where you're feeling really low, feeling really down, and she's not there to, lean on? Or I know you can pick up a phone call, but it's not usually the same.
Correct.
So how do you tackle that?
There's more time for me to work on myself now that she's not here.
Okay, so when she's not here, you spend that time working on yourself, so when she comes, you're a better version of yourself.
Well, you practice it even when she is here, but when she's away, there's 2 ways you can see it. You can feel sorry for yourself, miss your best friend, want your wife to be with you every day, or you can support her and use that time to help figure out, how you can be better every day, fitness-wise, mental-wise, etc. I'm going to Thailand on fight camp in 10 days' time to work on myself.
Oh,
If
really?
my wife was here, I probably would go with her on holiday, not to Thailand. So now that she's playing abroad for the first time in 7 years, I can take a trip selfishly for myself, go train, go eat the way they do, go recover the way they do, and then come back.
Interesting.
It's perspective.
Okay, and another thing that I wanted to touch on was your mom. I watched that video of your mom on the radio show, and while I was watching this, you can just see how much she watches your show. You know, as a mother, she watches your show, and she was pulling up references from past shows. You know, she's telling you off on live radio. My one thing I wanted to ask about was, she lives here now, right?
Yeah, she's retired.
So how long has she been living here?
4 years.
4 years. So the reason why I'm asking about your mum, and I'll get into a question after in a bit, but I have this fear, right, of the fact that, like, because I heard you say this, and it's a goal of mine as well, where you said you wanted to move your mum over here.
Yeah.
When you moved here, when you first came here, you hated it first 6 months. You said you hated it, but eventually, like, your goal was move your mother to Dubai, and be with you. And it's one of my goals, like, to bring, like, I would love to have my family here, you know, because I feel there's times where I feel so alone. I feel like they're having so much fun, I'm getting FOMO. So it's a dream of mine. But one concept that came into my mind recently was, let's just say, for example, we are going to live for another 40 years, right? Let's just say. It's like I don't want to choke up on this, but what I'm trying to say is, like, imagine we live for another 40 years.
Yeah.
My mum lives in the UK.
Yeah.
I go back once a year.
Yeah.
The fact that I realized that means potentially I'm only going to be able to see my mum 40 times until it's over for me. Scares me.
Yeah.
You know? And I wanted to ask you, like, when your mother was away, because you was a bit older when you moved here, right? I mean, you moved here actually quite a long time ago.
2008.
2008. And you was a bit younger when you moved here.
Yeah.
So did you feel like my mum's getting old, and me being far away from my mum, I need this to happen? Like, how was that? And especially your mum being around you when you was younger, and that figure for you, having to leave her, how did that affect?
It's hard.
Everything.
It's hard. I didn't, at that time, I was young, foolish, didn't understand what I was getting myself into. I put traveling on hold. I put moving away on hold for so many years because I found it very hard to leave her behind. But I tried to use it for me to be able to use it as motivation. I just didn't know what I was getting myself into. And it was awful when I got here.
But did it feel like you had, like, a missing piece when you moved here without your mum?
Yeah, of course. You try and figure it out, man. We don't always have all the answers. We think we do, but we don't. And I think that's one of the hardest things that you come to realize the hard way.
So how was it when she eventually moved here? Did it fill that hole, or did you feel like a whole person again, where, like, you know, like I said, like, you know, growing up, it was you and your mum. You moved away. Obviously, there's going to be an empty space there a little bit.
Yeah.
Now that she's back, does it feel like you're that child again? Does it feel like, you know, my mum's here? Like, because I see the way she, like, from that one clip that I saw, I see the way she values everything that you say and do. The fact that she loves football, right? The fact that she watches every one of your shows. The fact that, like, she will reference past shows. Like, she's, even though she might not have been around, maybe she was still invested in what you're doing day to day. So her being back here, how does that dynamic, how did that feel? Did you feel like your inner child was a bit like, my mum's here now, like, that comfort? Or was it just like, I mean, like, how was that? Like, how was that having your mum back here in Dubai?
What people don't tell you about growing up with a guardian, if you're fortunate enough to do so, is they become the child and you become the guardian.
Okay.
The way that they think, the way that they move, the way that they act. When you reach a certain age and they reach a certain age, So you're only thinking of yourself when you're growing up. You're thinking, in the next 40 years, I'm only going to see her 40 times. But the fact of the matter is, she or they become the child. And you become the responsible guardian. You're the one that starts to look after them. You're the one that starts to realize that they never used to do that. And I struggled with that. I went to therapy for that because no one told me that. No one taught me that.
How to look after an adult,
When,
like your parent.
Someone that you love more than life itself. How do you adapt to things they never used to do where you now are responsible for them? I had to wheelchair my mum from London to here. It was one of the
Really?
hardest things I could ever do, because that was a realization for me that things are changing. Now, thankfully, she's not in a wheelchair anymore, but at that time, in that period where there's so much uncertainty, unprecedented times, and she's ill, and I'm wheelchairing her out of the airport into the country that I live in, that was a big wake-up call for me. And people don't teach you that, how to deal with your parents when they get older.
So which hat are you wearing when you are looking after your mum? Is it coach mode? Is it son mode? Is it parent mode?
It's just unconditional mode. It's a mode that you give every ounce that you have, with or without any reasoning, to make sure that person's okay. That's only something you inherit from the person that loves you the most.
Okay. I would love to speak to an elderly person on the show and find out their inner child. I think that would be such a crazy, interesting topic. Because, we're talking about our inner child. For me, 28, I'm thinking about my inner child as, the trauma that I went through, the tough times I went through. You're thinking about your inner child, same thing. And I feel like, the elderly, like for example, like my granddad, like they witnessed, a war. They witnessed so much that we didn't, and we feel like we have it tough. So I wonder what their inner child was, where there was no TV, there was no social media, there was no, phone in general. Like it was just all, it's just a whole different life, and what the inner child was like. Because I feel like, someone like your mum, for example, right? Like she just seems, and I'm talking just based off this one clip, right? Because I've never met her. I hope to one day, but I've never met her. But just from this one clip, it just seems like she had such a positive energy as an adult. Whereas for me, I feel like I'm constantly fighting to like charge that battery. Like I feel like I'm constantly I feel like when I charge it, within a second the battery has gone low again. And I feel like when I saw that video of your mom, I just felt like she was just there. Do you know what I mean? So it'd be interesting to see how, because they had different traumas, they had different experiences. Yeah. It'd be amazing. There's an exercise I do to end the show.
Okay.
So I would love for you to kind of just sit back, close your eyes, right?
Okay.
And I want you to close your eyes.
Okay.
So what you're going to do, right, is I want you to imagine your child self, whatever age that comes to your mind, sitting in a room, right? And you're looking at your child self's old bedroom door. You visualize that door. You open that door and you see yourself as a child. What's the first thing that you would say to him or do with him?
Just ask how he's doing. That's the first thing I would actually say to him.
Why?
Because what's coming up next is something that he won't expect, and I want to see how he's feeling before he gets into that.
Wow. How old is this Omar you're looking at?
6.
6?
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. You can open your eyes.
Yeah.
That's crazy. A lot of, I've done this exercise with a few people, and a lot of them went back to their 6 or 7-year-old self. Why? Okay, so, if you don't want to share, totally understand. Yeah. But why the 6-year-old Omar? Why was that the first thing that came to your mind?
I think because his eyes are open. You know, his eyes are open. You can see things. I think a little bit younger than that, maybe I couldn't see much of what was happening. I couldn't understand it. And I think at that time both my parents are around. You know, life's a bit different. So I think that's why I just picked 6. Yeah.
Well, look, thank you so much
My
for being my third guest. I really appreciate it. Before I let you go, is there anything you want to plug? Is there anything you want to talk about? Where can they find you on social media? Where can they find your book? And anything else?
On social media, I use Instagram at Omar Al Duri, OmarAlduri. The book is on Amazon. It's called Reset. And I host my own show on radio on Pulse 95 Radio.
Amazing. Well, look, thank you for being a guest. I really enjoy talking to you.
My pleasure.
And I hope, you know, in maybe in a year's time, we'll have a whole different experience that we can talk about.
Yeah.
But thank you once again.
My
Let's
pleasure.
give a round of applause, guys.